Our new sponsor at NGSC Sports is Cool Eye Cover, and as you can imagine, we are talking sunglasses. The perfect time for our sponsor is summer, as we all need those sunglasses. Our sponsor even has a great deal as an NGSC Sports partner. If you email esgmarketingsolutions at gmail.com, they will give you a 50% discount on your first pair of sunglasses. Visit www.coolicover.com and choose your glasses to receive the discount and email esgmarketingsolutions at gmail.com for the discount coupon. We thank Cool Eye Cover for joining NGSC Sports as our new sponsor. This show is sponsored by Alicia's Pillows and Things. Check out the Facebook page, Alicia's Pillows and Things, where you will find home decor you will not be able to resist at prices anybody can afford. Check out the pillows and stools of your favorite sports teams. Maybe you want a set of your kid's favorite cartoon or movie character. You can also get full body and neck pillows as well. Log on to ngscsports.com and go to the Alicia's Pillows and Things tab on the homepage to complete your order. It makes a great gift for Christmas at an affordable price. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
Got Looney Tunes on, so she should be good for a while.
Did I hear blue drink?
Do what?
Did I hear a blue drink was given?
Yeah, she got her some blue drink.
A regular Jake Peralta.
Blue drink. The finest of all drinks.
The finest of all drinks for the finest of all podcasts. Sure. Welcome to the Foreign Affair Podcast, episode 273. Brand new sound, sort of. That probably actually sounds pretty much the same. I am Edward Green. Welcome in, everyone. I'm joined, as always, by McCall in Crime, Wes Bradshaw. We have a great podcast for you guys this week. We'll be doing top-of-the-table grades for the 2018-19 season, so we can finally put a nice little bow on that. We'll do a little transfer talk. I'm going to ask Wes what some of the notable transfers he feels like coming from the last little bit are. There were some pretty big names that have been doing some moving around the league around Europe, so we'll get into that as well as a little bit more in news and notes. Of course, hit the watch for. Maybe we'll do a little So Elite Raw at the end. As always, the podcast is presented by NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com. We never stop. As well as Alicia's Pills and Things. Hey, if your team is in the middle of a pennant race and just traded away their best pitcher because he's kind of a crazy asshole, maybe you need a Cleveland Indians body pillow. I'm sure Alicia's Pillows and Things can hook you up with that. Check her out on Facebook and some of the great deals on ngscsports.com. Also, it's hot. It's crazy outside. You know, the sun is bright. The Coriolis effect is happening. So get on to coolicover.com and get you a nice pair of sunglasses at a good price so you can, not go blind. We don't need people going blind. Not even you, Scott. Stupid X-Men. And of course, finally, you have the Roku TV. I have to believe you all have a Roku TV by now. So go ahead, get on there, search the Ultimate Sports Channel, and get some free sports programming. Brought to you by esgsportsgroup.com. And on the social media, you can find them at Nasha Sports. So with that, let us head right into our final Premier League grades of the season. 6 through 1 is what we're doing this week, ladies and gentlemen, and we are starting from the bottom of the 6, and then we'll get to the top. Number 6, with a bullet, Manchester United, 19 wins, 9 draws, 10 losses, 66 points, finished 5 points out of a Champions League spot. A season mired in controversy. Of course, they got rid of Jose Mourinho halfway through the season, replaced him with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who has taken over and had a bit of a bump for a while and then looked like he might get the bump at the end of the season. There's been unrest with Paul Pogba, Romelu Lukaku. The defense is pretty bad. It all just seems so poor for United right now. Didn't make much headway in the cup battles. Did make it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, famously knocking out PSG in the round of 16 after that great comeback in Paris, but then falling soon after. Wes, it wasn't a terrible season, but there's just so much going on, and with the state of Pogba and with the state of Lukaku, we're not supposed to bring in future transfer possibilities into our season grades, but I feel like a lot of that left a real bitter taste in a lot of United's fans' mouth. I am going to give Manchester United's season a C-, and the only reason I'm even giving them that C- is because they had that big win in the round of 16 of the Champions League, and they did at least advance a little bit. Otherwise, not a whole lot to be happy with for here. I don't even know if they want Solskjaer going forward, so that still has to be determined. Still don't have a director of football. I can't go any higher than a C- for them.
I agree with you. I think you kind of talked me into taking away their D grade that I was going to give them.
That's totally fair if you want to, though. I'd understand.
The word of the season for Manchester United was inconsistency. Because they had one of the best runs in the Premier League at one point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right after Solskjaer's hiring, I believe they went 11 straight unbeaten. I believe won like his first 8, something like that. I believe so, yeah. I mean, they were looking at that point like that was a team that was going to fight their way into the top 4. Where, at that time, the only thing we were kind of nailed on that 3 were going to be in. Mm-hmm. We knew City, Liverpool, and Tottenham at that point were going to, they were your big 3. But number 4 was wide open all day, and it looked like it was going to be Manchester United. And then, I mean, as quickly as that great run came, they just completely went to shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything fell apart. You talk about the wheels falling off. Everything fell apart for Manchester United. And it was they went back to what they had been under Mourinho, the bickering, the infighting, the non-incisive play, the all-around boring brand of football, the lack of passion on the field. What kind of sucks for United is I think everybody kind of gets lumped in on that roster is like not giving a shit. Mm-hmm. And that's not true. It's just that the good players don't seem like they give a shit. I mean, as much as Phil Jones is like comedy gold to us, mm-hmm. I mean, Phil Jones plays his ever-loving ass off.
Oh, yeah.
He's just not good.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, which actually makes it, funnier at times. But, at the end of the day, this is a United team that when you look at that roster on paper, you're like, man, what the hell's wrong with this team? But then you see them on the field, and I think you come to realize after watching them that, they've got some names, but, it's really like a fantasy football kind of thing almost, mm-hmm. where, you're just, oh, this guy's good, this guy's good, this guy's good. Okay, but it doesn't matter that they're not good together, huh? Yeah. It doesn't matter that, maybe they've got 2 or 3 guys who all just do the same damn thing. And just right now, I mean, that's where United ended their season, was horribly inconsistent. They finish in a Europa spot, 6th place. For a team that spends as much money as United, 6th place is completely unacceptable. But somehow Ed Woodward got a raise. Yeah. Not only did he keep his duties and keep his job, he got a raise. And now as we look at where we are this summer with, about just over a week left in the transfer window, I mean, what's he really done this summer?
Not much.
Now, that said, I mean, there are still things in the works potentially for United.
Mm-hmm.
Still a lot that could happen as far as incoming as well as outgoing for United. But I mean, to this point, for Man United fans, it just doesn't look like things are going to turn around very quickly.
No, it really doesn't, and that's where the question comes in: is Solskjaer going to be a voice and a leader going forward for this team? Is he a long-term solution? And I don't know that that's really the case. So it's a lot still to be determined, a lot up in the air, but not a very good season that they're coming off of. Maybe now, I believe the last time they were in Europa League, they did win it with Josie. So there is some hope there, I think, but it's going to be a tough road this season. Everybody's getting better, it seems, around them, and they haven't really done a whole lot. Maybe they get to Bala. We'll see. But still a lot to go through for United. Inconsistent is going to be kind of the name of the game, I think, especially for these first 4 teams we go through. 5th place of which will be Arsenal Football Club. First year in God knows how long without Arsene Wenger at the helm. Arsenal finished 1 point out of a Champions League spot, falling to bitter rival Tottenham Hotspur. Arsenal, again, terrible start to the season, but they played Manchester City and Arsenal back-to-back, so whatever. And then they went on a nice run of unbeaten matches from the end of August to mid-December, where they shockingly lost at Southampton. Then they kind of went back and forth, not really doing much. And then a terrible end to the season, losing 3 of their final 5 matches to knock them out of a Champions League spot. Didn't do much in the FA Cup, losing to Manchester United in their second match. Didn't do much in the League Cup, losing to Tottenham in the quarterfinals. They do make it to the finals of Europa, where they lost to Chelsea in embarrassing fashion. And it's hard for me to really gauge sometimes what grade I want to give Arsenal. On the one hand, coming into the season, Wes, we thought, they're going to be a project under Unai Emery. Maybe if they can finish top 5, maybe if they even sneak in a Champions League spot, that would be great. They were just 1 point away from doing that. I think a lot of high-profile failures, not a lot of movement in the Cups. Again, they do make it to the Europa League final. I'm going to give them a C+. I think they getting to that Europa League final was good enough to get them up to there. Again, a new season first season under a new coach. That was really big. I still think they have a lot to figure out in the back because that defense is absolutely abysmal. They need to figure out what they're going to do with Mesut Ozil going forward. We'll see. They've had a decent splash in the transfer market so far. Again, not really addressing the defense, but they did do something. They are actually spending money for once. So we'll see if that works for them. But as for last season, I'm going C+, buoyed a lot by that run to Europa League final.
I can get with that. This Arsenal team was so poorly put together.
Yeah. They couldn't figure out what they really wanted to be.
No, and their biggest issue is just the fact that, so much of their, here in the States we call it payroll. But so much of their wage bill is tied up in 2 guys who give them absolutely nothing at this point, and that's Mesut Ozil and Henrik Mkhitaryan.
Yeah.
And because of that, it does restrict some of the things they're able to do. And also, unfortunately for them, those are 2 guys that are on huge wages who nobody wants. Mm-hmm. There's the problem. Nobody wants those guys. And they're on big money. And they're unable to move them, and that's hamstringing what they're able to do. In midfield, they've got some promise in the midfield, mm-hmm. but it's promise that needs to be realized. And like we said at the back, they're a freaking train wreck at the back. I think goalkeeping coming up this season should probably improve for him, whatever you may think of Bern Leno.
Mm-hmm.
I think just the fact that it's not going to be in his head anymore that he's rotating with Petr Cech,
Mm-hmm.
which that was kind of stupid last year. I mean, I understand, Cech's the old pro, but at this point of his career, I mean, Bern Leno was just better.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't play him, you didn't play him just, well, we got this guy. It's like, good for you. Great. Cool. Let's look at Liverpool. Hey, well, we got Sima Mignolet. That's cute. He'll play twice this year in the 2 cup matches. But Arsenal just didn't pull that. But that should improve this year. I mean, up front, when you look at Lacazette and Aubameyang, that is a damn good front pair.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a damn good front pair. And if they're able to pull off this Nicolas Pepe move, I mean, that gives them a really deadly front three.
Mm-hmm.
They've brought in Danny Ceballos on loan. But, I mean, that's a good start because, he's another good player who can help them out. But the thing is, it's kind of like you said, they have not improved that defense, which was what was really their issue last year.
And that's what scares me. If they let's say they go up against Liverpool or City, and they say, all right, we got our badass front three, we're going to turn this game into a shootout. Liverpool and City are going to be like, okay, that's fine. We're still probably going to beat you. But if City and Liverpool dictate it and they say, we're going to make this a slugfest, maybe 1-0, 2-1, Arsenal's not prepared for that. So I don't see how they match up against some of the best teams in the league. I would even maybe throw Tottenham into there, depending on how their back shapes up. But I just don't see how this Arsenal team, even if they increase the firepower, starts challenging those top teams.
Well, I mean, firepower is great.
Yeah,
trust me, I'm a Liverpool fan. I know how this game works. I understand, And the thing is, you can win a lot of matches going out and scoring a lot of goals.
Sure.
But as a Liverpool fan, I will tell you, you don't really contend for the championship unless you can stop people.
Right. Absolutely.
And when it does come time to play the Liverpools and the cities of the world, Liverpool and City are going to be like, all right, you can score goals. That's cute. We can too. We can also stop you.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at the very least, we can slow you down enough that we're going to score 2 more.
Mm-hmm. Because
your back is just abysmal. We have world-class attacks, and you're just abysmal. So, it's kind of a catch-22 for Arsenal because they're in a spot where they're not able to improve but so much without massively paying over the odds, and then they don't have the money to massively pay over the odds.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to kind of pick and choose, and if this Pepe comes through, it's kind of a case of they're able to pay that in installments.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to blow a big chunk, but to go out and get an elite defender, A, how many of them want to go to Arsenal at this point? B, you don't have the money for them, and C, you're lacking Champions League football. You're lacking that ambition that the top guys want. And once again, I use Liverpool as my example. Liverpool eventually had to just pay over the odds.
Yeah.
They had to go out and pay huge to get Van Dijk and huge to get Alisson. But also they caught a few breaks. They signed Andy Robertson for under £10 million, and Trent came through the academy.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Gomez, they got him when he was like 18 for £3 million. So, for a team like Liverpool, it's hit right. For Arsenal, and Arsenal have kind of tried to go the same direction with the young players over the years. They just had a hit on them.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that's the philosophy. Part of that might be, who they're looking at getting. But it's it was a disappointing season, I think, for Arsenal. Well, and I say that as, it was disappointing in a way, but then at the same time, it was the first year in a long time without Wenger.
Mm-hmm.
You did go to the Europa final, which was a plus. So I think Arsenal, very inconsistent through the year. Then the United, like we said, high inconsistency. But they did have a better season than United all around.
Sure.
And to almost pull into that final Champions, I mean, God, they almost finished fourth somehow. Mm-hmm. Of course, I attribute more of that to the team we'll talk about coming up, Tottenham kind of just shitting the bed down the stretch. Mm-hmm. And kind of doing it because they knew they could. Mm-hmm. As compared to Arsenal, hard charging Arsenal almost getting it. Yeah. Anyway, Arsenal. All
right. So let's talk about Tottenham then. After they do finish fourth, the fourth straight season they have finished in the top four. They will be returning to the Champions League. Again, finishing 1 point ahead of Arsenal and just 1 point behind Chelsea for third place. Tottenham at their highest this season was actually, I kind of forgot this, they were in second place after match week 19. I didn't even remember that they had actually gotten up that high that far in the season. Spent a lot of the season in third place, but as you said, had an abysmal finish to the season. Had a 4-match unwinning stretch from the end of February to the end of March. Rebounded a little bit, but then still ended with 3 losses in their final 5 matches. Not great season. Still, though, did not enough work in the first 2/3 of the season to have that cushion, as you said, where they could still finish top 4. Of course, famously went until March without drawing a match. Didn't do much in the FA Cup. Did make it to the semifinals of the League Cup, almost advancing past Chelsea, going through penalties, and of course making the crazy run in the Champions League to get all the way to the Champions League final, where they would fall to Liverpool in the final in Madrid. Dealt with a lot of injuries this season. Harry Kane was not fit for most of the season, even when he was playing. Lucas Moura, though, stepped up in big ways. Heung-min Son stepped up in big ways. The defense was pretty good at times, really good at other times, not so good at other times. So I look back on this season and I'm thinking, what grade should I really give these guys? Should I reward them for the high highs of reaching the Champions League final for the first time ever, despite all these injuries, and still finishing also in the top 4 and making a big run in one of the domestic cups? Should I reward them from that? Should I detract them for the way they finished the season, for still not winning a trophy when they had a winnable game in that Champions League final and a chance to do it? What do I do? And I think I've settled on the positives will outweigh the negatives enough. I'm giving them a B+. If they had either finished the season stronger and finished comfortably in third, or if they had won the Champions League, I'd probably bump them all the way up to an A, like a solid A. But because of those few things, and because they didn't spend anything in the transfer market, no transfers coming in either the summer or the winter, not having those backups there to come in, I'm going to give them a B+. Still a good season. Still, if you had told anyone 4 years ago, hey, by the way, Tottenham over the next 4 years is going to finish in the top 4 every year, people probably would have laughed at you. So to stay in that top 4 while fighting in different competitions, while making a run to the Champions League, I think that's really, really good. See what happens this year, but for last season, I'm giving Tottenham a B+.
I think that's a good, solid grade.
Thank you.
I really do. Tottenham were maybe the most maddening team to watch in the Premier League this year.
Yeah.
Because we knew United had their issues. We knew Arsenal, we knew Chelsea had their issues, and we knew what the other two were, and the other two proved what they were. Mm-hmm. Tottenham, on the other hand, was the team that could look, and this has kind of been Tottenham's MO for a while under Pochettino, they can look amazing for 3 weeks, and then for the next month, they will lay the biggest shit eggs on earth. As much as we joked about the draws, I think the lack of draws ended up hurting them down the line, because there were some of those losses that they needed to turn into a point.
Yeah.
And that's going to be something coming into this season that's going to be really important for them, is, sometimes you can't just go for a win all the time. Mm-hmm. And I say that as in you can't be suicidal going for a win.
Right.
Once again, I'm a Liverpool fan. I know how that works. And I think Tottenham nearly played their way out of the Champions League for this coming season by just doing that. Instead of just buttoning it up at the back and taking a 1-1, we got to do everything to make it 2-1 and win it, and then they get caught and something happens, or they have a bad 10 minutes, and next thing you know, they're down 3-1 at that point. Individually, Tottenham are good across the board. I think they've improved this summer. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, later in the preview, when we preview coming up. Midfield, they had their issues from time to time. But, at the same time, some guys stepped up. Sissoko, I think, really stepped up and had a better season than most thought he would.
Absolutely.
They were hurt by some injuries, especially Harry Kane, which is kind of becoming his usual 6 weeks out that we kind of expect. Luckily, Son was able to step up. They missed Son early in the season. When he was off in the Asian Cup, they really missed him when he was gone. It's like Tottenham just couldn't get everybody together at once on the same page.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that was almost their biggest oncoming this year. But then that defense that has been so good for the last few years, that defense really took a step back this year. Hugo Lloris seems to, he's on the recession side of his career. He's still a very good goalkeeper, still probably one of the 10 best in the world. But where he may have been one of the 5 best in the world a few years ago, he's not on that level anymore. Alderweireld really took a step back this year. I think it's very telling that Toby Alderweireld right now is still a Tottenham player with that supposed £25 million release clause. And no one's come in to trigger that. I think he may be a backup option for a few teams, but the fact that he's not that guy that he was is I think a little disappointing for him. Vertonghen had some issues this year. Obviously, that position, they weren't quite as strong as they've been in the past. I think Tottenham are in this weird spot where they're a team that most all of their top players are hitting their prime or in their prime. But at the same time, they're having to refresh. And they've got to find ways to refresh the squad. I love their signing in Ndombele from this summer. They still may make another nice move before it's over. But at the back, right now, I'd be a little nervous with Tottenham going into the season with their back line. But that's it. I'd almost expect those guys to play better because so many of them just seem to have down years last year, and yet they still ended up back in the Champions League, and they still got to the Champions League final. And I think that run to the Champions League final, that does boost their grade. I'm going to give them a B+.
Okay.
I think that boosts the grade up to there. If they had gone out round of 16 and then had slipped to 4th in the Premier League, I think it would have been a much different story.
Sure.
The way we looked at this past season. But, dude, shit, you get the finals of Europe for the first time ever. It's a successful season.
Certainly.
One way or the other. So it's a successful run for them.
I would certainly agree with that. So, and as you said, we will see if they make any more signings still to come. I still think they're going to make 1 or 2 before all is said and done, but we will have to see. Next on the list in 3rd place was Chelsea, squeaking in again 1 point ahead of Tottenham right there at the very end of the season, finishing on 72 points. 25 points back of 2nd place. We'll get to that in a minute. Chelsea also had a sort of up and down season. A great undefeated run to start the first 12 matches. Everything was great under Sarri. And then they lost 3-1 to Tottenham, and everything started to kind of fall apart a little bit. They had that weird stretch in January where they lost by 2-0 to Arsenal, 4-0 to Bournemouth, and then 6-0 to City. Then they picked it up though in the back end of the season were able to get back into that third place spot and solidify Champions League placing yet again. FA Cup, made it to the 5th round, lost to United. League Cup, as we said, made it to the final against City, drew them and lost in penalties, so no shame there. And then did win the Europa League. So part of me, Wes, wants to give this team an A. They won a trophy, made another final, finished in 3rd place in the league. Hey, that's a really good season. And then I think, transfer ban. Maurizio Sarri chewing out his players every other week and seemingly losing the locker room. The drama over Eden Hazard. All these little things, to use one of Maurizio Sarri's favorite things, casting a cloud of smoke over Chelsea's season. And so it's really hard to separate the feelings that I get from just looking at their end product. So I'm going to knock them down to an A-. Part of me wants to actually give them even lower, but I don't think that's fair considering they did win a trophy this year, even if it was the Europa League. I think that does count for something, and I'm going to give them an A-, but it was a very, very, very ugly A-.
See, I can't give them an A- just because of all the shit.
Yeah, there was a lot
that went on. I mean, there was so much baggage with this team this year. And two, kind of like we said about Tottenham, I think Tottenham kind of shot themselves in the foot. So I think that 3rd place finish kind of flatters to deceive a little bit.
Sure, I'd agree with that.
And Tottenham was a better team than Chelsea this year. We all know that. So I don't think that 3rd place to me is so big. And when you look at their Europa run, I mean, they should have been there. They were by far the best team in Europa. I mean, so they only did what they should have done in Europa. Mm-hmm. Chelsea had a really good start to the season, which I think caught a few people by surprise. Well, he said, man, when they tailed off, they tailed off. They were behested Eden Hazard this year. Hazard kind of had to carry that group, kind of had to do so much for them. And I mean, it was kind of seen when you could find a way to take Eden Hazard out of you kind of ran Chelsea around. The manager drama was a huge distraction the entire season. The shoehorning of Jorginho at the expense of the best holding midfielder in the world, N'Golo Kante. It's like, oh, you got the best holding midfielder in the world. I will play him outside. Okay, you're a fucking idiot. So, I mean, to me, these are issues. These are things that, I can't reward you at the end of the day. And it was, end of the day, man, it was a subpar season that didn't have a bad looking final. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give them a B+ because they did bring home that title. They did qualify for the Champions League, but they have got issues going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with that transfer ban, yes, we joke about how they have everybody coming back from loan and they're still loaning people out. So, hey, go figure there. All right. So we had a lot of question marks about the first 4 teams. Not a whole lot of question marks about these last 2 teams. Let's start with 2nd place Liverpool. I look at their schedule, their fixture list from last season, and I see one red line out of the entire thing. And I wonder again, how in the hell did this team not win the Premier League? I will never understand how this happened. Only loss coming on January 3rd to Manchester City, 2-1. Otherwise, they won or drew every other match, including a 9-match winning streak to end the season. Finishing second, just 1 point behind City in the league. Did not win a match in either the domestic cups, losing to Wolves in the FA Cup and Chelsea in the League Cup. Although those are 2 pretty brutal first draws for each of those domestic cups, but still losses there. Made it out of the Champions League group stage, sort of like Tottenham, a little bit by the skin of their teeth, getting that 1-0 victory over Napoli in the final group stage match to advance. And then they took that momentum and they rode it all the way through into the semifinals with the dramatic comeback over Barcelona, and then finally the win over Tottenham in the final. They win the Champions League. They somehow finish second to Manchester City in the league by 1 point. I can't give this team anything less than an A+, Wes. And I think this is a phenomenal season that could have been even better through no fault of their own, through nothing Liverpool could have done except maybe getting a point at West Ham on February 4th. Other than that, that's what I mean. Their draws at Chelsea, home to City, at Arsenal, home to Leicester, at West Ham, at United, at Everton, which obviously that was Everton's biggest win of the year. So,
Everton and United keeping Liverpool from winning the title. Just ask them.
There you go. I will ding them a half a point for not winning a match in either the FA or the League Cup, but that's not enough to actually knock them out of A+ territory. So that's what I am going with. I think they showed spending money on the right players can work, and I think that's something that United has sort of forgotten for the last 5, 6, 7 years. But Liverpool have succeeded in it. They have put together a championship caliber side, and they brought home a trophy for it. So A+ for them.
Liverpool. It was the greatest season that I've been a part of as a fan. Mm-hmm. I mean, completely. Liverpool had basically the third best Premier League season ever. They had the third best season in English football ever. The fact that they didn't lift the trophy at the end of the year is basically down to the fact that, as we've said it, Manchester City had the second best Premier League season ever, a year after having the best season ever. So, to finish second by 1 point to a team that accumulated 198 points over 2 seasons.
It's impressive.
I mean, at the end of the day, what the hell can you do? And there are people bitching about it, which, shut the fuck. It was an amazing ride this year. One loss in the league the entire season. Mm-hmm. Did come at City in a match that, people look back at. That could have been a big one. At the time that match happened, if Liverpool had won, I believe we would have gone 9 clear at the top. Mm-hmm. So that was the quote unquote worst moment of the season. It was. It's what it was. That was a massive missed opportunity for us. One that could have firmly put us in the driver's seat of the league. Yeah, we didn't take it. And it sucks that that's your one loss of the year. And, earlier we talked about Tottenham wanting to give up any draws this year. Well, neither did City. The thing is, City just won most of the years. Instead of drawing instead of losing a draw, City just freaking won. So, it was an amazing ride. It was a frustrating end on that front. Mm-hmm. There were amazing moments this season. Probably none more amazing than the Anfield win over Everton. Mm-hmm. Origi's shoulder of God. The crossbar of God, whatever the heck you want to call it at this point. It was great. A, it was great because it was a huge 3 points. It obviously turned into a huge 3 points. And B, it was the Blue Noses, and it ruined their day, life, season, everything in between. It just ruins everything for the Blues when they lose to us. And to do it in that manner was magnificent. To go and spank United the way we did at Anfield this year, that was great. What we did to Chelsea at Anfield this season was fantastic. There were incredible moments. So just for the league season, it was an incredible ride that came up 1 point short, one agonizing point short But that's because, as you said, Liverpool won 9 straight down the stretch, and City didn't blink.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what can you do about that? As far as Europe, I mean, it literally cannot end better than Lipton, which I don't know if I've mentioned recently, but for the 6th time in their history, Liverpool are European champions. And this week, I didn't even have to really force it in, Ed. I mean, I'm supposed to talk about it, so there we go. The win over Tottenham was probably the ugliest win of the entire Champions League run.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It was not aesthetically pleasing, but as you can attest to, because you sat beside me for nearly the entire final. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care what it looks like. You know, you win ugly, you win. You lift the cup. That's all that matters. Their Champions League run was one that will, you know, you can almost put down that inconsistency card on the Champions League run. Lost all 3 of their away matches in the group stage. Came up, you know, Allison paid for himself with that massive save laid on against Napoli. You know, that got them through. A draw doesn't get them through, but he held that goal. Liverpool win 1-0. They go through. Dead and buried in the semifinal against Barcelona. And then the miracle at Anfield takes place. So many miracles this year. The miracle at Anfield takes place. The 4-0, capped off by Trent Alexander-Arnold, the 20-year-old with maybe the most heads-up corner you'll ever see in world football. He and Origi were on the same page. Barcelona flat-footed. And that was kind of a fitting end to that semifinal if you really go back and look at it, because nothing about that semifinal was normal. You know, we go back to the first leg of that where Barcelona had that very late break on the last kick of the game. Dembele could have basically put the tie away. And instead he doesn't pass to Messi and he skies it. And Liverpool just have this small ray of hope. And that's what happened is they turned around, they came back, Fortress Anfield, they got them. Liverpool did not lose a match at Anfield this season. Fortress Anfield living up to the name. And, I mean, at the end of the day, you lift the big trophy. You get the big grade. You lift the big trophy. You have, as we said, the 3rd best Premier League season ever. You get the A+. You deserve the A+. Liverpool fully deserved their grade. They fully earned it. And as far as Gump would say, that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Then we have one more team to do, and that is Manchester City. They did a domestic treble this season and also put up, as Wes mentioned earlier, the 2nd highest point total in Premier League history. Their inconsistency, if we want to throw them out there, was December, apparently. 3 of their 4 losses during the Premier League coming in December. A 2-0 loss at Chelsea. 3-2 loss at home to Crystal Palace, which is still kind of mind-boggling. A 2-1 loss at Leicester, and then late in January, a 2-1 loss at Newcastle. After that loss at Newcastle, City would not lose or draw again and would win every match the rest of the way, and had to win every match the rest of the way to win the league. They won the FA Cup, beating Watford 6-0 in the final. They won the League Cup against Chelsea on penalties, and they made it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, where they were upset in crazy fashion by Tottenham. So I'm of 2 minds, as sometimes it is. We have talked a lot on this podcast about Pep Guardiola at Manchester City and how his role is to win them the Champions League. And again, that does not happen. Does not even make the semifinals of the Champions League. And yet, no matter what you want to say about their road and difficulty in the League Cup and the FA Cup, and they were not hard roads at all. They won the league, they won the FA Cup, they won the League Cup. They set the 2nd highest point total ever, the year after setting the highest point total ever, and had to do it with Liverpool matching them every step of the way. For the first time on the A Foreign Affair podcast, I am giving a team an S grade. That is higher than an A+. I'm giving them the full S. It's an unbelievable season. One of the best English seasons I think we'll ever see. Fantastic all around. It's hard to ask much more from this team. Yes, we want to see them, make a Champions League final and win the Champions League under Pep. But that aside, to win 3 trophies, and again, with Liverpool breathing down your neck for that Premier League title, I think to hold your nerve like that is unbelievable. I'm giving them an S. And I just have to sit back and applaud two absolutely phenomenal seasons. And I think this one was just like City was slightly better than Liverpool in the league. I give their grade slightly higher than Liverpool. I'm giving them the S.
As you talked about that, we love to bring our love of the cinema into the show at different places. All I could think of was the movie we all watch every Christmas Story. When Ralphie is daydreaming about his paper that he turned in, and the teacher loving it, she gave him an A plus, 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 plus. And, the pluses went on for millennia. I think if you take Europe out of the equation, that is absolutely what City did. I couldn't believe I was hearing this right. The first team to do the domestic treble?
I think they are, yeah.
Which that kind of boggles my mind. Just thinking about some of the old Liverpool teams of the 70s and 80s ilk, who collected league titles. I know collected league cups, and I know won some FA Cups. I'm just kind of surprised Shankly or Paisley never did it in the same season. But anyway, to do that, that's an incredible. That's incredible. You almost think about it nowadays, especially newer English football fans, it's just the League Cup and just the FA Cup. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when you think that no one's ever done it, obviously then that's a hell of an achievement.
So we will be very clear on that. They are the first English club to do a domestic treble. Manchester United did have the treble season in 98-99, but yeah.
And Liverpool have had a treble season. We won the treble 84. We won, I believe it was at that point, the top division, the top flight. We won, I believe, the League Cup in Europe that year. Sure? Yeah, like we're saying, a domestic treble. The league and the 2 domestic cups. And it's crazy, but they did it. Mm-hmm. And you've got to give them all props in the world for that. And when you think about the fact that they scored 98 points, they collected 98 points. Silly American here. That's crazy, especially coming off what they did last year when we all assumed, and we talked about this preseason, well, there's got to be some coming back to the pack. They might still score, they might still collect 90 points this year, which would be an amazing run. Mm-hmm. To do 98, you lose a match in December and then basically have to be perfect the rest of the way. Yeah. And to do it. Wow. I don't know what I'll say for City. I don't think they were quite as electric this year as they were a season ago. Obviously fought injuries this year. Bernard Silva stepped up and they've been the best player in the Premier League this year. That includes Virgil van Dijk. City were a machine this year. They kept grinding when somebody went down, somebody in. It's just what they do. This is what Pep does.
Yeah.
Pep builds a machine. Mm-hmm. Pep is very intense. Pep demands a lot of intensity. And to score, keep saying score. Jesus, I'm watching the Cubs game, and that's what's. I'm sorry. To get 98 points, a season after getting 100 points, and to go win those two, and to be in Europe, even with the disappointment of Europe. I mean, that's incredible. Pep is very intense. He demands a lot of intensity. And, yeah, I mean, give him all the credit in the world. In Europe, you know, that's the thing. He was brought in to win Europe, and they failed in that again this year. And at this point for Manchester City, when they don't get there, it's a failure just because of where their standard is and what their expectation is. But that can't take away from their domestic season. They were the best team in the Premier League at the end of the day. It pains me to say it. But they were the ones who got over the line and lifted that trophy on the last day of the season. A plus.
Also, quick note, they also won the Community Shield. So this is the first time any team has held all 4 English football trophies at the same time. So we'll see. Hey, Liverpool has a chance to take it from them in, I guess, a few weeks, I imagine. Right?
That's no, it's like God, it's this Sunday, I think.
Oh, it's
this Sunday.
Hey,
the biggest trophy of them all, Ed. As I've always said, the biggest trophy of them all.
Right after the UEFA Super Cup, of course.
Oh God, I mean that's even bigger. I mean that's for the world. Well, no, we're in the Club World Cup.
That's true.
So we get the chance to become champions of the world.
There you go.
Of the world, Craig.
Oh, that tournament we've spent so much time covering on this podcast with such insight and such nuance. That, you know, the last couple seasons especially, we've just devoted so much time to the Club World Cup, and that's all gonna pay off this year.
You damn right. This is the year, folks. This is the year.
All right. Well, that is our Premier League 2018-19 season wrap up. We'll do a preview next Wednesday, you know, just in time for the season. And hey, a trophy will have already been awarded. Hey, don't forget though, a trophy already was awarded today. Let's give it up real quick. Tottenham Hotspur. They the second straight summer they've lifted a trophy. The Audi Cup winners, beating Bayern Munich on penalties. Amazing work.
Who says that Potts can't bring home silverware?
Hey, last year he won the International Champions Cup. This year he wins the Audi Cup. I mean, what more could you really ask for? Really? Okay. Now we hit the news and notes. And Wes, I'm just looking at some of the transfers that have taken place recently, and I'm just curious. I know you're big into the transfer market. Of any that maybe have struck your fancy, I'm seeing guys like Patrick Cutrone going from Milan to Wolves. Wolves continuing to try and build that club up by spending money and trying to spend money wisely. Idrissa Gueye leaving Everton, going to PSG for 32 million euros. That's kind of insane. You did mention some of Arsenal's deals. William Saliba is going from Saint Etienne to Arsenal, although he will be loaned back to Saint Etienne for this season. So the center back maybe comes in next year and helps out Arsenal, but won't be doing that this season. And then I'm seeing Douglas Luiz is leaving Man City for Aston Villa for almost 17 million euros. Any transfers the last week or so, Wes, that have really tickled your fancy? Or I know you love the rumor mill. So if you got any rumors you want to bring up, now is the time.
One that really actually jumped out to me is like, what the hell? Seriously? Moise Kean.
Yes.
Signing with Everton. And, you know, I mean, this is Moise Kean who kind of came to the forefront last season, had that incident with Juventus, which kind of brought him some controversy. But, you know, this was one of those, like, you know, bright young stars of Italian football. And, you know, one of the great players of the future for Juventus. And, I mean, I understand them shipping him out this season. You know, Maurizio Sarri coming in, he's not looking for players. He has very established talent at Juventus, and he knows he's going to live and die on that talent. I figured maybe, you'd see him go out on loan somewhere, but to flat out sell him and then Everton to get him and at a decent price, it's like, holy shit, did anyone else realize that this guy was for sale?
I didn't.
It's like, what the hell? Everton? Jesus, man. You can do better.
Yeah.
But I thought that's a good one. I mean, that's a very good, very promising player for Everton who's got talent for the future and can also come in and do something for them. I mean, I fully expect if this kid, develops along the lines he should, that he won't be at Everton long. I mean, somebody will come by him, but, it was just, that was one that just really, the hell. The Pepe rumor that he has agreed some terms with Arsenal, that was surprising just because all we heard was Arsenal had they had no money to spend, and now they're going to make like an 8. But once again, we said earlier, if they are able to do installments over 5 years, I mean, that makes a lot of sense for them. And that could basically be the death knell of Mesut Ozil playing even as much as he does now. Now, once again, will anyone take him? Not really. But I don't think going forward, especially if he can bring in a guy who can replace him on that side, I don't think that Unai Emery is going to catch much heat for not playing Mesut Ozil. So those are the ones that have kind of stuck out to me at this point. And as we say, with about a week plus left in the English transfer market,
very, very important distinction.
Still moves that will happen. Will Liverpool reinforce it all? At this point, I have no fun. Tottenham's still maybe one or two out there. Manchester United. Manchester United has all the big moves around. What's going to happen, I don't know. The Harry Maguire sounded like it was going to happen. Now it might not happen. The big rumor the last few days has been Paulo Dybala bandied about with Lukaku going the other way. If they bring those two in, those are massive moves. Now, don't forget the European market stays open until September.
Yes.
So the European teams are not done. Philippe, one thing to keep an eye on, if Philippe Coutinho doesn't end up on a Premier League squad, that really lowers his market on the European. Then it's PSG or bust. That's one to keep an eye on. Neymar's still out there. What the hell's going to happen with that? Paul Pogba, apparently Zinedine Zidane is ready to go down with the ship over, you told me you get me Paul Pogba, now goddammit, you're going to get me Paul Pogba. So that's still, there's so much out there. So much out there. So, it's a lot still to come. It is truly silly season.
Very, very much so. And obviously, as you said, Wes, there will be deals that keep going down all the way to the wire, especially for the Premier League with that window closing in just a little over a week time. In just over a week time, we'll be starting the Premier League season. As you mentioned, Wes, Liverpool will be playing the Community Shield this weekend. And then next Friday, they start their quest to win the Premier League this season as they take on newly promoted Norwich at home on Friday Night Football. And there's some other big matches to come the rest of the weekend, including Manchester United, Chelsea on Sunday. But again, we will get back to that later on. Other news and notes talking about craziness. In what some people have joked is going to be the best Arsenal defending of all season, Said Kolasinac saved Mesut Ozil from a knife-wielding man who jumped them in the car. That is absolutely...
Mesut Ozil, as usual, disappeared. He's nowhere to be found.
Oh, very serious story here. But yeah, Kolasinac just fought off a couple of attackers who were trying to carjack the two players, and hey, good for him. Not a whole lot more to say about that, but good for you, Mr. Kolasinac, protecting Mr. Ozil, I guess. So Good.
That's the best defending we'll see out of Arsenal this year, I'm sure.
There it is. All right. So we're going to move on, and we're going to finish up news and notes here with two women's football stories, actually. Normally, we don't like to talk about expansion in the World Cup, but this time I think it's a good thing, maybe. In 2023, the FIFA Women's World Cup will expand from 24 to 32 teams. This is coming from Tom Sunderland out of Bleacher Report. I think part of me thinks this is a good idea, just because 32 is a nice number. It becomes parity with the men for now. And it does sort of make that whole even thing of you got to finish top 2 in your group or you're not advancing. No more third place moves on from these groups. I worry a little bit that when you add in more teams that will dilute some of the teams that are getting in. However, I think we've seen over the last 2 World Cup cycles that the women's game is getting better. It used to be, the U.S. and then maybe 1 or 2 other teams. And there's starting to be other teams rising up, even with the United States going back to back. Other teams are starting to rise up. So maybe there are, 32 really good teams out there who can fill a women's World Cup bracket. And if there are, hey, that's even better and really good for them and continuing to grow the women's World Cup and the women's game in general.
It is. By 2023, 32 teams may be a little ambitious, but for the future of the women's game, you're seeing more and more women's national teams are finding their way, are starting to come onto the world stage. So I think the more, by getting 32 in, that's going to give some more countries the chance to be in, which should only accelerate what's going on with those countries, especially if you start looking at like the African teams.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say, and this isn't, I'm not trying to make a joke or anything when I say this, that the African continent has kind of been in football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just how it's been, Europe, South America, those are the big dogs. And then you've kind of got the other ones kind of sprinkled out there. But I think Africa starts around. Asia's done pretty well with women's football. And just moving forward, this is more maybe what Sepp Blatter was actually talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will do it. And like I said, 2023, you might catch a few of those 10-0 matches,
mm-hmm.
kind of like we saw with the U.S. and Thailand this year.
Sure.
But like even Thailand, I think that's it was a good learning experience for Thailand this year. Mm-hmm. They should be better next time.
Absolutely.
I think even those teams that take those 10-0s, if it's the first time they've been there and it's their first chance on that stage, it sucks to take that hammering, but I don't think it really hurts you overall. I think it helps just because you got the chance to be out there. I mean, for Thailand, they got the chance to be there with it was ugly, but you know what? I bet next time that they play in the World Cup, it ain't going to be 13-1.
Absolutely. I think it's going to get a lot better.
Yeah. I think it's going to expand the women's game. I think it's going to kick up the women's game. So good for them.
There we go. Good stuff there. Speaking of the U.S. women's team, their head coach, Jill Ellis, will be stepping down after taking the team to back-to-back World Cup titles. It was not an easy road for Jill Ellis. There was a lot of questions about some of her tactics at times, her use of players at times, her formations. But at the end of the day, she got the United States women's team to a point where they could win both World Cups. Did they win it in spite of her? Did they win it with her help? It's really tough to say sometimes, but the fact is she is going out after winning back-to-back World Cups and really, in a time when, most national team coaches are only lasting 2-3 cycles tops. That's a very impressive record. And, for her to kind of bring back the United States into that super dominant fashion that we saw, earlier, she's gotten a great group of players and she's got them playing a very attractive style of football. So I think that this is, we will see where U.S. soccer moves on from here. But, hey, big congratulations to Jill Ellis getting to go out on her own terms and with two of the biggest trophies in sports to claim on her mantle.
Absolutely. Jill Ellis is one of these very polarizing figures when it comes to the United States women's team. She had major issues around that first World Cup team. Hope Solo didn't help that with Hope being Hope.
Shocking.
She had a falling out with a lot of that first team. And because of that, brought in a lot of new players into the fold, which turned out to kind of be a masterstroke. As I said, I believe she becomes only the second coach to ever win 2 World Cups. Mm-hmm. The other one was back in the 30s. So it was obviously a men's coach back in the 1930s. It was, I can't remember. Maybe Uruguay? I can't remember who it was. Sorry, wasn't around. Didn't catch the highlights.
How dare you?
Yeah, you know me. But I mean, she's done a fantastic job. And I think this World even more than the first one they won, because now while I believe the U.S. were the best team there, they had to go through some really good teams. England, France were really good. And, I don't think anyone would have really held it against her if they had lost France in that quarterfinal. But anyone who knew anyway. But she got it done. She won it twice. She might not be the most popular coach in U.S. history, but hey, you know what? She's got the gold. She's got the gold, so she's a winner.
Absolutely. And, leading into our final story here, and I actually didn't send this one to you because I saw it and then I forgot about it and then I remembered it while we were talking, so I brought it back up here. And, this is something we kind of talked about, I think, right after the women won. We know that U.S. soccer and the U.S. women's national team have been in this pay dispute about how much the women should be getting paid. They're getting paid equal to the men. And it's been really ugly legal battle. And, we said after, they win the World Cup, hey, U.S. soccer, you want some free points? You want some good pub? Hey, you say, hey, this is the best team in the world, and we're going to support them. We're going to get them equal pay. And, hey, new U.S. soccer president Carlos Cordero, you can put a good step forward, get a lot of goodwill when people were very lukewarm at your appointment as the new U.S. soccer president. Hey, this is going to be an easy win. Easy win. So yesterday, Mr. Carlos Cordero came out with a statement saying that, actually, we do pay the women as much as the men. Actually, we pay them more, is what Mr. Cordero says, saying that, hey, from 2010 to 2018, we paid the women $34.1 million in salary and game bonuses, whereas we paid the men just $26.4. Now you might be thinking, then what are these women talking about? And it's, they don't include benefits. There's no health care. It also doesn't take into account the fact that U.S. soccer pays the players in the women's national league in the States, unlike in MLS where the teams pay the players. So a lot of that could you imagine if we were throwing Zlatan's salary to count for this, if we were throwing Rooney's salary to combat this? I mean, it would already probably make up the difference between the two. So there's also collective bargaining things. This is coming from an article in CNN. Even the men's national team stepped up and was like, no, you're actually wrong here. You don't do that. I don't understand. This is the easiest win of anything in the world. I continue to be perplexed why U.S. soccer keeps fighting this. The team is popular in the country. they win, and they're a group of very talented and, for the most part, very charismatic athletes. And I think that this is something that you should be building your federation around. You have a good group of young men's players. You've got a great group of women's players. That's what you should be using to prop up your federation. And instead, you're trying to prove them wrong in the media, and then you get immediately bitch slapped down from both sides. I don't understand this, and frankly, I never will. Carlos Cordero's an idiot. So that's my piece on it.
I don't have a lot to add to that, but yeah, I mean, he's a dumbass. Jesus, man. I mean, softball shit is being lobbed to you. And it's just like, well, you know, actually. It's like, no, dude, come on, man. Come on. Think before you say it. I mean, you know, I have to say this shit to my kids. Think before you say what you're going to say. And, you know, it's my kids saying it to me or saying, I mean, it's ridiculous. It is freaking ridiculous. I mean, now there is a point to the fact, you know, hey, we have paid them. We have paid them well. And I think, you know, that's got to be taken into account. But at the same time, when you look at everything else with it, you need to equalize a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what is also important. So.
Yeah, I would say I think we've probably paid the national team pretty well. I still think there could be more done there, but I think they've been paid well. But I think the women's game as a whole hasn't been great. I mean, you can go read stories of just the atrocious living conditions that the professional league women's players have to deal with on a day. I mean, this is stuff like I've read stories about minor league baseball players, and some of them look like they're getting put up in the damn 4 seasons compared to what some of these women have to go through to play in the I keep forgetting the actual name of it. The
NASL?
NASL, thank you.
Is that what it is?
I think it is, yeah.
I might be wrong. I can't remember.
NWSL.
NWSL, that's it.
There you go. So, yeah, it's really bad. Now, like, do I think Alex Morgan is getting taken care of? Probably. She's probably getting taken care of pretty well. But it's a lot of the others that are trying to build up this foundation of the women's game in this country that isn't getting taken care of. And it's just the easiest thing in the world, dude. Just pay them. I don't know what else they have to do at this point. So, hey, U.S. soccer at its finest with leadership. All right, Wes, let's hit the watch for. What have you been watching in the week that was or the week that will be? How's the Marvel travel going? We must be getting close to the end.
Oh my God, we are literally just waiting for the day now to watch. Lynn has no idea what's about to hit.
Oh no,
she has no idea.
Oh no.
So we watched the Black Panther last night.
Yes.
Panther. She likes him, yay!
Chadwick Boseman.
She likes Chadwick Boseman, yes. She saw him on the morning show or something. I don't know. She likes
yes, him. the WHIG morning show. He was on that.
Yeah, exactly. Completely
That's insane.
But she's enjoyed it, and now got a little time in the next few weeks to get that 2.5-hour Infinity War in, so I can just devastate her life for a while. God. And then, you know, we'll come down with Ant-Man 1. Then get back up a little bit with Captain. Completely ruin her world when she sees what happens to Tony Stark in Endgame.
Oh God,
that's her guy. She's a big Tony Stark Iron Man fan. So yeah, we're going, man. We're going on the way. As far as non Marvel related television at this point. Something that it comes on all the time, but I just got to give it a shout out because it's great. Very relevant to my profession. A&E's Live PD.
Ooh.
I don't know if I've ever brought up Live PD on here before.
I don't think you have.
May have, may not have. Live PD and its spin-off shows, my God. It is like a modern day classier version, which was great, just to start with. But yeah, I watch so much freaking Live PD. It's not funny. So Yeah, get your little IPD in there, folks. It's a good time for all.
All right. I do want to mention, God, there was something I was going to mention. Oh, by the way, did you know, I read this maybe last week, or maybe it was this week, that in Endgame, someone on set had to suggest that Tony says at the end, "I am Iron Man." That originally he wasn't going to say anything and just snapped his fingers.
Jesus God, how could you not have that in there?
I don't know. Like, originally they didn't write that in there, and then somebody on set was like, "Hey, he should." Like, they thought that it needed something. He's like, he should say, "I am Iron Man."
God, I mean, how else could you have ended it?
Apparently, with him saying nothing. So, hey, there you go. Just another one of those really.
Did you happen to catch the somebody's like released the deleted scene?
I saw some of the deleted scenes they showed.
This is the one where after he snapped,
everybody
like, they
takes
saw
an
him die, and everybody takes him.
Yeah.
But the key to that is we see Gamora is still there.
Yeah. And then
Gamora
bounces.
just kind of turns and walks away. But that's one of the biggest questions we had coming out of it.
Yeah.
What the hell happened to Gamora? Well, that tells us that Gamora is still somewhere alive.
Mm-hmm.
So in this modern universe, or in this modern time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So to me, that was the biggest takeaway from that. Yes, the moment was incredibly cool, especially because we come from that, take a knee mentality. So, yeah.
I think somebody said they were like, they thought that it might have felt a little redundant to go straight from that straight to the scene at his cabin where it pans over everybody. Like, it's two very similar shots to kind of do that. And then also some people thought that, maybe Gamora just kind of piecing out like that, it kind of undercuts the emotion slightly. So I can kind of understand why it got cut. Still a really good scene. And then yeah, I saw some of Rocket's deleted stuff. That was funny as always. Rocket's a big goofball. One other thing I will match. I don't know actually when this starts, but I do want to watch this. It's a show called Infinity Train. It premiered a trailer at San Diego Comic-Con a couple weeks ago. It has shown its first sort of piece, an 8-minute piece. It was originally a short on Cartoon Network of all places. Very interesting premise. It's basically a girl gets on a train one day to go to school, it seems like, and instead she gets on and there's all of a sudden this number on her palm that doesn't go away, and she's got to solve puzzles to get from one train car to the next. And in the short that they showed last year, I think it was on Cartoon Network, she goes to this one train car is this giant open world. It looks like Greek architecture, and everybody is a corgi, and the corgis can talk, and so one of the corgis helps her out, and she helps out this land of corgis, and then they go to the next door, and she has a talking robot with her that is schizophrenic, or not schizophrenic, but has two different personalities. It looks really funny. It also is a very cool concept, I think, to have this train that this girl cannot get off of and has to keep solving puzzles and logic riddles and stuff. I think that's a very cool idea. I don't know exactly when it's starting. I hope it starts soon. But yeah, I will be checking that out as long as I can find it on a streaming service. So check it out if you want to. It's Cartoon Network occasionally makes really, really good shows. They had Adventure Time was really good. I think there's another one. I forget. Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls was also really good. So this seems to be another one in that series. A very heady premise for a kids cartoon show, but very, very cool. And just what I'm watching.
Of course, as we know, most things on Cartoon Network are not kids cartoon shows.
No. This one is really good though. I'm also going back through and watching all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine because why not? Nine-Nine! So I believe I'm at the...
We did exchange Raymond Holt
yes.
this week, which was very, very enjoyable.
Always enjoyable.
Wasn't as enjoyable for you as it was for me.
Quite.
was great.
So yeah, I think I'm at.
Ed, real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. We have to throw a little rest in peace out there. This actually happened a few weeks ago, but since you brought up Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Ed, we lost Cheddar.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Cheddar was the underlying glue of that show.
It's true.
I'm just I don't know how Raymond and Kevin are going to take it. Maybe a nice bowl of Kevin's famous rice. Maybe help with that. But rest in peace, Cheddar. You are pretty much the greatest dog.
Well, hey.
Take that, Lassie.
Yeah.
Shithead.
Hey. Where am I in this season? I think I just finished. I just finished the 3-part Florida set. So they're back from Florida and they're on the night shift, and I think I've done 1 or 2 episodes from the night shift. So with Captain CJ making.
Oh Jesus! Was that Ken Marino?
Yeah. Are you wearing sweatpants? What? No. Oh yeah, I am. It's like, people once said to me, "You need to stand up for yourself and tell people no sometimes." Oh, hey, that was you guys. Oh, it's so great. Love that show. So that's what I've been watching on the watch for. Wes, are we getting So Elite Raw this week or nah, brah?
I worked the nights this week, so I didn't really see anything. I heard there were some good matches on the 2 shows this week. I know Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler put on a really good one Monday night, which, I mean, that's just what they do, man. They're fantastic, especially together. And then I heard on Tuesday night SmackDown that Kofi Kingston and AJ Styles tore the house.
Oh boy! So
that was a title match. Kofi retained, but I heard they just tore the house down. Listen, man, I've got to kind of get myself back around to it and back into it. I've heard some positive things coming out of it with the shakeup up top, with now Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman running the 2 shows, like legitimately running the 2 shows now, not just on screen, blah blah blah. It's taken more of an edgy turn over the last month, which is, I think, what we as fans have been asking for a long time now. And I think, who I really think you can thank for that is AEW. The whole problem for WWE is there's been no competition.
That's true.
So they never had to come out of the zone. They didn't have to do anything different because, that they were the only show in town. Well, now AEW, I mean, the fact they're going to TNT, so they're going to be on the big network again. They're not ever going to be a full-on competitor to WWE, but they are going to be a competitor to especially the hardcore fan base. And, then if they can bring in some casuals, I mean, they could just get to a point where they're taking money out of WWE's pocket.
Right.
And that's the part that's the only thing that's going to get the WWE's attention. Not that they're going to go beat them or, take over where they are, but just the fact that they could take money out of Vince McMahon's pocket. That's going to piss them off, and that's going to have to push them. So, I'm excited about that.
Nice. Well, we'll see if it does lead to some good stuff. So maybe in the future we can get back to some more in-depth So Elite Raw. But for now, still playing it safe, playing it cool. See if
Sorry, guys. I mean, you're doing better, but you've got to really do it for me, guys, to get me back. You've got to win me as a fan.
You have to woo
because
him.
right now, I can take or leave professional wrestling. I can take it or leave it right now.
It's a bold statement.
And that sucks because guys like Seth Rollins and AJ Styles and Finn Balor, these are guys, I love these guys. I think they're amazing. But right now, man, you guys just not doing it for me right now.
That is rough to hear, but maybe we'll turn around in the future. We are not turning around this podcast because we have reached the end of it. Thank you so much for joining us here on episode 273 on the night. Want to, as always, give a shout to our podcast presenters, NGSC Sports, Alicia's Pills and Things, Cool Eye Cover, and the Ultimate Sports Channel and National Sports. You can find all of them on the social media as well as us as a collective on Twitter. We are at AFA Pod. Wes, you are?
I'm at Wes Bradshaw 21.
I'm at Edward Green. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube via our parent show, The All New Sports Show. And you can email us at allnewsportshow@gmail.com. Thanks so much for our podcast providers, including Podbean.com, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, Google Play Music, and the iTunes Music Store. We will be back next week. I feel like we won't be back live, though.
No, next week is a...
So we will be Wes will be sending me his Premier League 2019-20 predictions from
and it will be the return of Anfield.
There you go.
Just based on the fact that the biggest trophy of them all is out there, the Community Shield.
Hey.
And also that day that I'll send you that in will be the Super Cup.
Hey, there you go. So 2 big matches. Wait, so you guys play the Super Cup and then 2 days later you play the Premier League?
Hold on. Let me look and make sure.
That doesn't sound good.
Wait a minute, it's September. Let me get back to August. No, we play. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm a week ahead.
Okay.
Super Cup's actually the 14th. It'll be the next Wednesday. So that Wednesday night we'll be on and we'll be able to do our Super.
Hey, there you go. We like it.
Our Super Cup, yeah.
We like it when stuff is live when we do it. So that's pretty baller. So Wes will be bringing us Anfield Corner next week, along with his previews for the upcoming Premier League season. I will be dropping my votes for top 6, as well as who will be taking the drop in this coming season as well. But for now, that will do it for this episode of the pod. But before we get out of here, Wes Bradshaw, is there anything else you'd like to add?
You kind of made a little comment about has come and gone. The Boston Red Sox did nothing.
Yeah, very Tottenham of them.
Yeah, that's not, well, maybe it's a summer of FSG, I don't know. Surprisingly, the Yankees didn't do anything.
Yeah, they tried, I think, but they just couldn't.
Yeah, they just couldn't get anything. Houston got freaking Zach Greinke.
Yeah, that was big.
Jesus God. I mean, if they don't win with that rotation, shit, that's something. Looking in, Puig, Puig got traded again.
Yeah. For Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, for Trevor Bauer of all things. Wow.
Noted head case, Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, he's a head case, but he can be a hell of a pitcher when he's on.
That's true. That's very true.
That's kind of what we got this year. Baseball's going to be interesting stretch. I don't think, the Yankees, I think, the Yankees and the Astros are probably the 2 best teams in the American League.
Yeah.
But behind the Astros, I mean, God, there's so much shit that can go down. I mean, you saw the Red Sox just did to the Yankees this past weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So, Boston is not a perfect. We're Red Sox fans, but, I could see, the Red Sox are a team that could in September.
Mm-hmm.
Could get hot in October, and you're not going to want to play them enough. So, if they're hot. So, and the National League, I mean, obviously, isn't that kind of what they always do? They're kind of the Dodgers' MO. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, man, baseball, here we go. College football starts in less than a month. Football. In less than a month, in about 3 weeks, we'll have high school football. Just a lot going on, man. It's that time of the season. Football and our football and football and
it's a lot.
Here we go, man. Here we go. It's a lot, and it's big time. And this is a great time of year that we're coming up on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Times.
Hey, and that article. Did you ever get that article I sent you about Brian Goodwin?
I did. I looked at it.
Okay.
I had seen some stuff about him maybe being up on the board, but looks like he stuck around.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good to see him doing well. Another player the All New Sports Show made, obviously. We made Brian Goodwin, we made Todd Gurley, and we made Brian Goodwin, and now they're both in Los Angeles.
You're welcome, Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't know what more we need to do for you.
I mean, we big up the. Mm-hmm. Once again, thank you, Los Angeles.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah, and our check, I assume, is in the mail at some point, guys.
And as I always like to say, Mike Trout was going to East Carolina.
It's true.
Yeah, boy.
he likes to say that a lot. But it's fine. It's fine. It's all good. So that's gonna do it though for this episode of the podcast. For McCall and Crime, Wes Bradshaw, I am Edward Green. Thank you so much for joining us here on this week's episode of the Foreign Affair podcast. Until next week, everyone, stay safe, enjoy the football, and for the love of God, people, don't call other players disabled names. Don't do it. Just don't do it, guys.
That's right. And good night, Heavy On. You've been a wonderful training camp for the
Our new sponsor at NGSC Sports is Cool Eye Cover, and as you can imagine, we are talking sunglasses. The perfect time for our sponsor is summer, as we all need those sunglasses. Our sponsor even has a great deal as an NGSC Sports partner. If you email esgmarketingsolutions@gmail.com, they will give you a 50% discount on your first pair of sunglasses. Visit www.coolicover.com and choose your glasses to receive the discount, and email esgmarketingsolutions@gmail.com for the discount coupon. We thank Cool Eye Cover for joining NGSC Sports as our new sponsor. This show is sponsored by Alicia's Pillows and Things. Check out the Facebook page, Alicia's Pillows and Things, where you will find home decor you will not be able to resist at prices anybody can afford. Check out the pillows and stools of your favorite sports teams. Maybe you want a set of your kid's favorite cartoon or movie character. You can also get full body and neck pillows as well. Log on to ngscsports.com and go to the Alicia's Pillows and Things tab on the homepage to complete your order. It makes a great gift for Christmas at an affordable price. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.